shit, I had some, you know. You can't forget what? One of the best ones, man. One of the best ones. Wait for people to come on, man. Oh, shit. Take it again. Not a lot. Nah, you can't eat that. Yeah, but the one that you're gonna get ain't gonna be. The one that you're gonna get's not gonna be. All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K. months. Zalakia almost said Wednesday law class. This is the I.S.U.P.K. history class. Give me 1 second. All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K. history class. Give me 1 second. Let me just check out. Let me just. Let's go on now. There you go. All right, give me 1 second. Let me just. Give me 1 second. I'll just sort this out real quick. All right, this is the. Give me 1 second. All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K. Monday history class. So we're going to go into history about slavery and cargo slave ships. So we're going to go into the history, man. We're going to pull the books out today. So we're going to show you about slave ships, why they enslaved us, how they enslaved us, what our journey was like on the ships, how they treated us once we came off them ships. So we're going to go into all these things, how they mocked us, humiliated us, slaughtered us, and so forth. So we're going to go into all of that, man. Let me just pull up these notes real quick. Give me 1 second. Also, if you got any questions, just type them in and we'll get to them. Any questions, just type them in and we'll get to them. All right, 1 second, almost there. There you go. So, all right, then we're going to start off in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. So we're going to read that in Deuteronomy 28, and then we're going to go into some of the books. So let's start from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68. You know what? I don't see why. Probably not, but I don't see why they wouldn't. I'll take. All right, in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68. So it says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships." So now we read that and we just go fly right over it. We fly right over it, man. We don't understand the conditions of them ships. We don't understand how filthy them ships was, how them ships was built, how these Africans rounded us up. Did you know that Africans used to capture us, man? The Africans used to send us, they used to capture us, put us on a canoe boat, man, and then take us to the Europeans. Esau used to come to the Gold Coast, man, and they would do what? Now, the way it was set up is the way they would get slaves is these slave masters and these merchants would do what? Keep going to the same place So the Israelites that was taken was often of the same tribe. Why? Because they got them from the same location, man. They dealt with the same people, the Royal African nonsense. There was a group called the Royal Africans who would capture slaves and sell slaves, man. Like, you're just thinking it's a random African man catching you. Nah, man. They set up governments to catch you. You see, like today, how the police can throw you in jail, how the police can come kick your door down and take you to jail. It was the same back then, man. They had African governors catching you, man, kidnapping you, putting you in canoes and so forth. But anyway, we're going to screen share this. What do I click? Just share at the bottom. Share. Share screen. 1 sec. I'm still trying to work out how to use all this. Hold on, what did I click? My entire screen? No. Application window. Yeah, see.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and for bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Give me 1 second. 1 second. Stop sharing. If I stop sharing, does it take it off the screen share?
No, both the pictures.
I should be on them now, you know.
No, yeah.
Alright, this is not. So you know now. Good with computers. Give me 1 second. I'll just stop screen share. Come on. Stopped it. Alright, then read that for me one more time. So like I'm just trying to work out the screen share. Alright, 1 second. Let me get these pictures. No, I'm gonna try getting them now. I'm just gonna go into all of them. Yeah, I'm trying to get into all of them. So all I need to do is go left and right. I shot it. Give me 1 second. 1 second. You know, actually, you know what? I should be able to go my email. 1 sec. Yeah, here down my email. All right. There you go. All right, let me go to screen share now. Yeah, I should be able to when I go back on there. All right, so now we're gonna 1 sec. We're just gonna share the screen. Share screen. Application window. That screen sharing. All right, then. So we're gonna read that one more time. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Says the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. So now this is a book called the Zong. This is a book called the Zong, which was what? A slave ship, which was a slave ship from Liverpool. So now we're gonna read about the Zong. Let's go to the next slide. All right, it's not changing there, is it? It should be on there. Yeah. It should be open right now, you know. I'm on the screen share right now. Hold on 1 second. Listen, I ain't got so lucky. I ain't good with all this computer stuff. Stop. All right, stop sharing. It's lucky I tried to do it fancy for you today, but it ain't really working. Give me a second. So when I click on this, there. Share screen, application window, this one, share. Yeah, that's what I done the last time, but it didn't open it up. See, so it's just staying. Go back to the StreamYard. All right, then. Back on StreamYard now. Remove. Stop. Yeah, stopped it now. Do it again. Share screen. Yeah. Share. It should be right behind here. All right, yeah, all right then. Oh, there you go. Okay. See, now it's not letting me go across now. Oh, no, it is. Yeah, it is. All right, so now read that scripture one more time. See if we finally got it. All right. Take two. Take two. Give me a hand. This is Officer Crawford doing the Monday history class. Give me a Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. So now we're going to read about slave ships and so forth. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
And it says, the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. So now we're going to show you about these ships, man. Let's go to the next page. Now this says,
Can you zoom in?
one second, try zoom in. Yeah, there you go. Should be able to zoom in. Oh shit, it's touchscreen. All right, so let's read this now. Can you see something to read it? All right, then. The book's here, page 1. So now we're going to read about the Zong. This is page 1. We're going to read about black people's oppression and so forth.
And it reads, on 19th of March, 1783, Granville Sharp, a humble clerk in the Ordnance Office, but already well known to England's black community for his indefatigable efforts on their behalf, noted in his diary, Gustave Vassar, a Negro, called on him with an account of 130 Negroes being thrown alive into the sea.
Hold on, what happened to 130 Negroes?
Thrown alive into the sea.
130 Negroes was thrown alive into the sea, man. Imagine this. You're on the slave ship and you see your grandma thrown overboard, man. Yeah, let me zoom in. That's all.
As we move down, scroll down.
There you go. Yeah. So now 130 people was thrown into the sea, man. Now, when you read Deuteronomy 28 and 68, this is the atrocities that is actually recorded, which is letting you know what? We the real Jews of the Bible, man.
That's right.
Because when we was on them slave ships, 130 Negroes was thrown into the sea, man. That's your great-grandfather's mine. That's our family, man.
That's right.
That was thrown into the sea. And this is why we shouldn't be so selfish, man. Imagine that. They threw them into the sea. These is people that should have lived. But no, our oppressor hates us so much that he throws them into the sea. Why? Because of money. Read that again.
130 Negroes being thrown alive into the sea from on board an English slave ship.
From on board or what?
An English slave ship.
And the Englishman's the devil the Bible speaks of, man.
That's right.
The Englishman hates black people so much. What happened to what happened to them loving everybody at this time? They knew who to throw in the sea, man. They didn't say, you know what, there's some good black men, we're going to save some of them. You mean to tell me out of them 130 people, there was no one there that was a good black person?
That's right.
Of course there was, man, but guess what? They still got thrown into the sea. Why? Because we ruled over by our oppressor that murders us and slaughters us. Go ahead.
Thanks mainly to a detailed report in a London newspaper, the news of the killing quickly spread. To many, even the bare details seemed scarcely credible. In the last week of 1781, the crew of the Zong, a Liverpool registered slave ship.
Yeah, this shit was registered in Liverpool, man. So, scroll out a bit.
No, zoom in, scroll down.
Oh, so
Move down.
All right, go ahead.
There you go. A Liverpool registered slave ship had thrown 132 Africans.
Now it says Africans, but we know we ain't African. We're Israelites, man. But the white man would say you're African, and I'm gonna tell you why he would say you're African. You know why? Because when the Windrush generation first came to England, the white man asked them where they're from, and they said Jamaica. And he goes, "Oh, is that in Africa somewhere?" The white man don't know geography, man.
That's right.
He don't know geography. He asked them, "Is Jamaica in Africa somewhere?" In Africa somewhere. So when he says that we're African, I mean, what do you expect him to say? Do you expect him not to call you African? But read on.
132 Africans overboard to their death.
Drown them, man. You know what it's like to drown. Water all in your lungs and everything. You fighting and panicking, man, because you can't breathe. And there was a painting of it. And you know what white people said about the painting? This painting's too disgusting to look at. You need to ban this painting. Meanwhile, that was the work of their hands, man.
That's right.
The reason that painting's there is because of what they done, where they had sharks in the waters. They had a man with his leg cut off in the waters, with their hands cut off. There was a man with his hand above the water. Why did he have his hand above the water? Why? Because he's trying not to drown, man. And these people's full of life. These people had nothing wrong with them. Could have been living a normal long life, and their life was cut short, man. They died by drowning, which means what? Their family can't even give them a decent burial. Definitely. Their family can't even visit the plot where they died. Why? Because their body's underwater somewhere. Because this white man wants to save money. Because he wants to enslave black people. He threw them off the ships, man. This is murder. 132 Israelites was thrown to their death. Go ahead.
The ship was en route to Africa, to Black River in Jamaica.
The ship was what?
En route from Africa to Black River in Jamaica.
This ship was going to Black River in Jamaica, man. That's where they was going to enslave them in Jamaica. They took them from the west coast of Africa and went to enslave them in Jamaica. Hold that, but give me Deuteronomy 28 and 68 again. So we're going to read Deuteronomy 28 and 68 again, but we're going to come back to that.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
The Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. And these people was going where from West Africa? Where was they going?
En route from Africa to Black River in Jamaica.
They was going back into Egypt again with ships, man. That's where they was going. And guess what? These ones here didn't even make it into Egypt with ships. Why? Because this devil killed them, man.
That's right.
Throwed them overboard. Go ahead.
Had overshot its destination and was running short of water.
Meaning this man had overshot his destination. Meaning the guy that's driving the ship is an idiot that didn't know where he was going, man. That passed his destination, that went past the Caribbean. So to make up for his mistake, what happened? Black people had to die. Meanwhile, it's his mistake, man. He drove past the island where he was supposed to go. So he drove past the island, and to save time and whatnot, well, not to save time, to stop the demand of everybody wanting more water, what did he do? Threw them overboard, man. And black people had to die. And this is what happens when our oppressors rule over us. Our oppressors rule over us, and we have to die, man. We have to die when they rule over us. Meanwhile, it's their mistake. Go ahead.
It was reported that the ship's captain, Luke Collingwood, had ordered the Africans killed in 3 batches in order to reduce the demand of water to ensure that marketable slaves would survive to landfall in Jamaica.
And listen, man, this man did what? Read that part again.
Ordered the Africans killed in 3 batches.
He ordered them killed in 3 batches. Imagine you see a batch of Israelites killed, man, a batch of people killed, and you know you're going to be killed next. That's what was going on with us and them slave ships, man. They seen a batch of Israelites killed, and then after another batch killed, and he done it like threw them overboard, man, drowned them. Next page. Is there more? Oh, I've got to zoom more. All right, no, sir. Yeah, all right.
Move down with it.
Yeah, all right.
Page 2. Who owned the Zong took their insurers to court to secure payment for the loss of dead Africans.
Hold on, they did what?
Took insurers to court to secure payment for the loss of dead Africans.
Listen, man, they didn't care that black people died, but they took their insurers to court, man, to secure payment for the loss of dead Africans, meaning Israelites, man. Obviously, this book's going to call them Africans because the white man, he acts like he don't know the difference, but really he does. Now, they took them to court. Now, no one cared about your life. They just understood that they paid for you and you didn't make it to what? To your slave owner in the Caribbean. So they wanted an insurance payout, man. And that's how they look at black people's lives. Insurance payout, man. You see, like when you crash a car, what's it called? Crash for cash. When you do crash for cash, you write off the car. Why? Because you're going to get paid out. They killed these black people because they knew they was going to get paid out for it.
That's right.
Meanwhile, money means more to them than a black person's life, man. Read on.
The ship owners were pursuing their claim under well-established protocols of maritime insurance.
Maritime insurance. This company is still around today. They insure like cargoes and whatnot. Like, you don't know that most insurance companies used to insure cargoes and people for their loss of slaves, man. They used to insure people for their loss of slaves and whatnot. Like, these people don't care that you're dead. They threw you overboard and said, you know what, we'll just get paid out for them. And that's the thing, man. They always been trying to get paid off black people. Whether you have a rap career, the reason you got a rap career is why? Because white people get paid off you, man.
That's right.
The reason LeBron James plays basketball is why? Because white people get paid off him.
That's right.
This is why there's no black league. Why? Because white people need to get paid, man. They won't let you set up a black league. Why? Because you will get paid and they need to get paid off you. You talk about, oh, this oppressor changed my life and he took me out. I was in the ghetto and he gave me a job. The only reason he's doing that is because he's getting paid off you, man. He's making money off you. He's making more than you're making. Go ahead.
Which accepted that enslaved Africans on board the Atlantic ships were insured as cargo.
They were insured as what?
Insured as cargo.
Black people was insured as cargo, man. Understand this. Our life is precious to the Lord, man. Our life is precious to the Lord. And to this white man, your life is nothing more than cargo, man.
That's right.
Your life is nothing more than cargo. Your life is nothing more than a crushed car. What do people say when they crush their car? Oh, it's only metal. This man looked at you as less than metal, man.
That's right.
This man looked at you as less than that. That throw them overboard and we will get paid for them. Understand this? Your oppressor has no heart, man. This is a man with no heart, and you're trying to say we must love him. He ain't never gonna love you, man. Why? Because he threw 130 Israelites off a ship, man.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Moreover, under certain circumstances, the loss of those Africans could be claimed on the ship's insurance.
And they tried to claim us on the ship's insurance. Go down to the next highlight part. Can you see online or?
Okay. The Zong owners were demanding money for over 100 human lives.
The Zong's what?
Owners were demanding money for over 100 human lives.
Go ahead.
Brutally and purposely cut short.
And these lives was brutally and purposefully cut short, man. Meaning they threw you over and drowned you, man. And they watched you drown. They watched you drown, man. And didn't care and just looked at you as we're gonna get some money. How could I ever love a white person? Meanwhile, my ancestors is in the Atlantic somewhere, man.
That's right.
Meanwhile, they didn't get a proper burial.
That's right.
They didn't get to live out their life. They got thrown overboard. What about the poor kids that had to see this, man?
That's
in batches?
right.
Go ahead.
It's like it for me. And we got thrown overboard, eaten by sharks and whatnot. And guess who gets paid? Them poor slave owners that lost their property. You know, let's give them some money because now they ain't got slaves to sell. You know what I mean? And really, if anyone should get money, it should be us.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
I had to that.
It should be us. And guess what, man? Money can't bring back the life of these 132 Israelites, man.
That's right.
But guess what? The Lord's gonna require. Require payment from them, man, and they have to pay with their life. Don't worry, they got paid out with money. They're gonna have to pay with their life when Jesus Christ returns, man. And you're telling me we must have our oppressors sitting up in here with us? No, man, that can't happen, man. You have them in your organization. Listen, they're just gonna overthrow you and take over your organization, man. That's what they're gonna do. But go ahead.
The resulting legal dispute between the ship owners, Gregson, and the insurers, Gilbert, ensured that the story of the Zong was transformed from a murderous secret among the small handful of sailors who carried out killings.
So now what happened is they wanted to claim on the insurance, but the insurance didn't want to pay out all that money. So then they put this story out in the news. 132 Israelites were thrown overboard. So people looked at it like, this is horrific. This is disgusting. Now, just imagine people that didn't claim insurance. Imagine how much Israelites have been thrown overboard who ain't been claimed for. Like, if they didn't claim on the insurance and the insurance didn't want to pay it, this would have never came out. This only came out. Why? because the insurance company didn't want to pay the money.
That's right.
So they put this out as to put how barbaric they are, so they don't have to pay the money. Imagine how much black men's been thrown overboard and nothing's came out, man. Nothing's been in the news about it. Nobody's heard from them. No one's heard nothing. Just imagine the numbers would be sky high, man. This, like I said, this only came out because the insurance didn't want to pay the money. Go ahead.
And the employers in Liverpool into a highly visible political and legal issue.
And this became a legal issue because they didn't want to pay the money, and these sailors wanted the money. Go ahead. Anyone there?
Next part.
Downwards. Yeah, go ahead.
Today, if anyone wishes to use a visual representation of the Zong, they are very likely to turn to J.M.W. Turner's masterpiece.
So, Lucky, are you able to screen share from that side, or should I do it from this side? Do it from this side. Yeah. I'm gonna share the. Hold on. If I go on the normal internet, would it?
What do you want to screen share?
No, I was gonna screen share the picture.
Yeah.
I can do it from this side, innit?
Drop this though.
I have to drop the screen share from.
Yeah, for yours. Come back to it.
All right, then I'll drop that and come back to it. So hold on, what did this? One second, let me try it. What's his name again?
What, J.M.W. Turner?
Yeah, because there's a. Yeah. Nah, I was gonna hold on once. Please tell me I didn't drop the screen share.
You did.
Oh no, yeah, still there. All right then. His name is, what's his name?
J.M.W. Turner.
J.M.W. Turner picture. Yeah. All right, let's find the picture.
Zong drowning.
Yeah. You got the screenshot on that side?
Yeah.
All right then. So we're gonna pull up the picture of it. All right, we're gonna screen share it from that side. Also, any questions, just type them in. For the most part, you can't see the picture, but zoom in. Should be able to. Look at that, man. That's a picture of the Zong massacre right there. So if you see them. Look at the brothers in the water, man. There's brothers in the water with their hand up. Why? Because they're drowning, man. There's brothers in the water with their hand up because they're drowning. The Bible says we should go into slavery on ships. And this is what they done to us while we was on them ships, man. Threw them overboard. Look at all them Edomites throwing that brother overboard. There's a next picture on the Zong as well. It's kind of... There's a next one. I believe it was next to it. Yeah, it's one of them ones.
Sonia?
Yeah, that one. Say that again. Yeah, that one was the original. So I'm going to show you the next one, man. This is the painting. Look at this painting right here, man. You seen all the brothers in the water. You seen the animals looking confused. Like the animals is looking like, where's all this food coming from, man? You got with this one, it's a bit blurry, but that's the picture, and so forth. So you got animals that was looking at the sharks, the sharks is looking, thinking, huh? Is this a trap? Where's all this food coming from, man? They would throw you in the water and watch you drown, and there's nothing you could do. Imagine you're a parent thrown in the water. Your last thought is, I'm drowning, but who's going to take care of my kids, man? If you're a child, you see your parents thrown in the water, your last thought of your mother is, my mother drowned to death, man. How can you expect us to love our oppressor after that, man?
That's right.
We can't love them, man. Listen, every time you want to love your oppressor, just take a look at this picture of the Zong, man. Go back to that one again. Yeah, this one. Listen, every time you want to love your oppressor, this on the screenshot. Yeah. Every time you want to love your oppressor, this is what you do, man. One sec, we're gonna go to it. Every time you want to love your oppressor, understand that man being thrown off the ship was a relative of yours, man.
That's right.
Understand that those in the water was relatives of yours. Understand that, man. When you want to love them, you know what? I'm gonna print this picture off, and when you want to love it, I'm gonna give you a copy of it, man. I'm gonna show you it every day, man. You see, like in the movie Get Out, they have to flash them to take them out of the what's it called? I'm gonna show you this picture, man. Every time you want to go to church, man.
That's right.
Every time you want to go to church. These was Christian men that was throwing us aboard, man.
That's right.
They was Christian men. They was religious. They sung and danced in church every Sunday, man. And guess what? Threw you off a ship, man. Because they only cared about their people. Go back to... Hold on, I got to do it from this side, innit?
Yeah.
Alright, share screen. Yeah. What page was we on?
Page 3.
Page 3. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right, we're on. Is it on there? Yeah, it's on there. Go ahead. Yeah, that's the order. Yeah, all right.
J.M. Turner's masterpiece, The Slave Ship, with its haunting portrayal of black bodies drowning beside a ship, threatened by a looming
Hold on,
storm.
read that again.
J.M.W. Turner's masterpiece, The Slave Ship, with its haunting portrayal of black bodies drowning beside a slave ship.
And they threw you off the ship. I'm gonna tell you why they threw you off the ship. They threw you off the ship. Why? Because they didn't want to run out of water. Listen, man. In 2021, that's the difference between you getting the ventilator and them getting the ventilator, man.
That's right.
They would kill you for their people to get the ventilator. They would kill you so their people can get the vaccine. That's what they would do, man. But nowadays, the light don't get the vaccine. Why? Because they want it for themselves. But if it was short and there was one left, they would take it and make sure you don't get it, man. Like, white people look out for their own. They killed 130 black people so they could have water for themselves.
That's right.
That's what they did, man. They said, well, you have to die because we don't have enough water for you. They made sure they had enough for themselves. Go ahead.
Why kill Africans at sea when the sole aim of the slave trade was to sell them for profit?
Hold on, what does it say?
Why kill Africans at sea when the sole aim of the slave trade was to sell them for profit?
Listen, man, they killed us at sea when their whole soul of the slave trade was to sell us for profit, which lets you know, man, they're a disgusting race of people, man.
That's right.
They don't even stick to their own mission, man. How does making a man a slave turn into you killing him and all of those things, man? Listen, it's like your boss at work. You're employed to do what? Do your job. They was meant to take us and take us captives, and they started killing us, man, because it was fun to them. Because it was fun for them to see black people die, man. And you're telling me we must care about 9/11 and them things. Listen, man, we got our own problems to care about. Right. There's something in us where we still traumatized from what happened to our ancestors, man. There's something in us that we still traumatized about, man, and we don't even know it. We live with stress and pressure, and all these things add to that stress, man. Knowing that we are a race that nobody loves, we are a race that nobody cares about, we are a race that everybody hates. Not that we want their love, they're incapable of loving us. And this shows, man. Even the author had to ask, read it again.
Why kill Africans at sea when the whole aim of the slave trade was to sell them for a profit?
This man would rather kill you and lose profit, man.
That's right.
Like he hates you so much that he's willing to lose money to kill you. He's willing to pay someone to kill you. Go ahead.
And sell them in the markets of Americas. Why did Turner decide to paint this picture 30 years after the British had abolished slavery?
Huh? He painted it what?
30 years after the British had abolished the slave trade.
So he painted this picture 30 years after the British abolished the slave trade. Go ahead.
In 1807, when by all rights it should have been a faded memory.
After 30 years, they said, why did you paint this picture? They said, our death should have been a fading memory. They said, our death should have been a fading memory, man. These times, they've been talking about the Holocaust almost 100 years after it happened, man.
That's right.
That should be a fading memory, man.
Right.
9/11 should be a fading memory.
Right.
The 7/7 bombing should be a fading memory. The Ariana Grande concert should be a fading memory. They're telling us the death of 130 Israelites should be a fading memory, man. And that shows how much they hate us, man. That shows how much they hate us and how much they want us dead and how much they want us gone and so forth. Take me to page 27. We're going to come back to that in a bit. All right, we're going to read some more. Oh, yeah, got zoom. Give me Deuteronomy 28 and 68 one more time. So lucky. Listen, we're gonna hammer that into your head today, man.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. So we went on cargo slave ships, man. And what we're reading is a book of about a slave ship, man. Read that for me.
Gregson's newly acquired slave ship, the Zong, was an unusual vessel for the 1780s. At 110 tons, she was relatively small.
So now the Zong, this ship was relatively small. So now back then they had what? Certain laws on how much they could pack the ship up by, how much people they could get on there. Like the measurements, it's like kind of like a plane. You can't overcrowd your plane. Why? Because it won't fly properly and it'll fall out the sky. So they had similar measurements back then with slave ships. Go ahead.
And when she was finally set out on the Atlantic crossing on the 6th of September 1781, she was carrying 459 people. Though the economic of the slave trade had long determined that traders filled their ships as tightly and efficiently.
So they was to fill their ships as tightly and efficiently. Go ahead.
And safe management allowed. The Zong was more crowded than most slave ships of the period.
So listen, man, the Zong was a small ship and they overpacked it. And then the worrying about, they're going to run out of water. That's their fault, man. They overpacked the slave ship. And when they overpack the slave ship, guess what happens? You have no room to move around, man. Yeah, where there's meant to be space for one person, they cram two people in there, so forth. That's what they've done on the slave ship. Go ahead.
A typical British slave ship of that size and at that time would have only have carried around 193 Africans.
Hold on, how much people should this ship have carried?
193 Africans.
This should have only carried 193 of us, man. And they rammed it so much. 459, man. This is Esau for you, man. This is Esau for you, man. He breaks his own rules. Imagine their own people, the ones who made up the rules of how much people must go on the ship. And he broke his own rules. Why? To cut corners, to save money. Listen, man, this man is the devil the Bible speaks of, man. Right. And what we're reading right now shows you this book shows you he's the devil, man. People always say, no, I.S.U.P.K, only read the Bible. Listen, we're reading a history book, man. For people who don't believe in the Bible, we're reading a book that your daddy wrote, man. We're reading a book that the white man, your father wrote, man. At least believe this if you don't want to believe what we say. Go ahead.
Of 223 British slave owners which departed from Africa with more than 440 Africans on board.
With what?
More than 440 Africans on board.
They had 440 on board, man. Go ahead.
Only 8 were of 110 tons less.
And listen, man. Oh, wait, only what?
Only 8 were of 110 tons less.
All them slave ships, them British slave ships, only 8 followed the rules, man. Only 8 of them slave ships followed the correct measurements. Out of what? Out of every ship they had, the rest of them was ram-packed, man. The rest of them was ram-packed. I'm talking overcrowded and so forth. Imagine this. You shackled at the bottom of the ships, and some of the ships, they divided the ships where they would have women on one side, men on the other, and the children could just run around free on the top deck to a certain degree. So then they had the men shackled, and then what they would do is they would take the women and rape them, man. They would take the women and rape them for their own sexual gratification and so forth. Now, what happened to, like they said, our sole purpose was for them trading us as slaves. So at what stage do you then start to rape the slaves, man? Like when do you start to rape the slaves and then you start to kill them? This man don't even stick to his own missions, man. This is why when you're in the police station and he says, give us some info and we'll let you go, he ain't gonna let you go, man. This man is a liar and a deceiver that can't stick to his own words, man. He can't stick to his own words, man. We're gonna go to a next page.
For me as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
It said they had 110 tons of merchandise, man. And some of these big lorries are only 10-ton lorries. They're only carrying 10 tons. So how is it he got a ship carrying 110 tons, man? Can you imagine? And these lorries that's carrying, these 10-ton lorries are carrying what? Boxes and food and so forth to different stores.
Exactly.
And this man got 110, like, that's like 10 times more. And all that is black people is carrying.
Right. Hold on, give me 1 second. All right, this is. Give me 1 second. Let me see if this is the right book. Give me 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Go to the next page on that. Let me see what the. Is there anything on the next page of that? What does it say on there?
About cross-section.
Oh yeah, it's the right one. So okay, go ahead.
Cross-section and plan of the ship.
1 second. Let me just zoom. That's one or
A bit more. Cross-section and plan of the ship that most impresses upon the modern mind as much as it did upon the contemporaneous abolitionist, the ruthless crowding. The ruthless crowding.
The ruthless crowding, man. Why? Because they rammed the ship so much. It was meant to have 193 people on there, and they had 440. They ram-packed the ship, man. That's why it was overcrowded. That's why black people was dying on there, man. Because this man can't even keep to his own rules, can't even keep to his own measurements, man. Go ahead.
As much, Slakia, with Africans squeezed sardine-like.
Listen, man, you've seen how sardines is in the tin, man. They squeezed us on them ships like sardines, man. Listen, you can't tell me this man ain't the devil, man. You can't tell me this man ain't the devil. Go ahead.
Into every available inch of space.
This man squeezed us into every available inch of space, man. Wherever there was space, he would squeeze a slave in there, man. Saying, you know what? The more we pack the ship, the more money we can get for these slaves, man. And the Africans played a big part in this as well, man. Because they sold us. They knew this was going to be the treatment. And they didn't want to say, you know what? I can't do that to someone. They didn't care, man. They wanted muskets and handguns and handkerchiefs. And guess what? You had to go in order for them to get those things, man. You had to go on the slave ship in order for them to get them handkerchiefs. You had to be squeezed in a corner like sardines in order for them to get them handkerchiefs, man. Go ahead.
This remains the quintessential idea of the slave ship, reproduced time and again to portray the barbarity of the trade. And
this trade was barbaric, man. This trade was barbaric and disgusting, man. As disgusting as could be. Go ahead.
And as the West consumed even more sugar in its food, and especially in its hot drinks.
So now, just understand this. Every time you see that white man in Starbucks ordering a coffee, man, your ancestors had to go sort out that sugar cane, man. You understand that? Every time this man drinks a cup of coffee and puts sugar in there, understand your ancestors had to be slaves in order for that to happen, man. While he sat down with a nice cup of coffee on his couch, understand your ancestors picked the coffee, and then when he wants to put 2 sugars in his coffee and he realizes it's not sweet enough and he wants 2 more sugars, understand your people had to work in the sugarcane fields, man, in order for him to have what? Sugar in his coffee. Understand your people had to pick cotton for him to do what? Put a cotton shirt on his back. That's right. Meanwhile, this man smiles in your face and tells you, I'm not racist. The shirt on his back shows me he's racist, man.
That's right.
The sugar in his coffee shows me he's racist. Him buying Nescafe shows me he's racist, man.
That's right.
Because my ancestors had to do what? Work on them fields in order for him to enjoy a nice coffee. Meanwhile, they put a muzzle on us so that we couldn't enjoy no coffee. We couldn't enjoy no sugar. We had a muzzle on our face, man, so we couldn't enjoy these things. And you're going to tell me this man ain't the devil? Listen, man, pick up a history book, man. Pick up a history book, and you might just understand. Every white man I see drinking a cup of coffee, man, I say in my mind, this white man's the devil, man. He's drinking coffee. Why? My ancestors had to go pick them coffee beans, man. He's got on a cotton shirt. Why? My ancestors had to what? Pick that cotton in order for him to have a cotton shirt, man. For him to parade around in his nice cotton shirt, my ancestors had to work in the hot sun topless, man. Sweating, getting their backs whipped, getting their nose chopped off if they didn't meet the time limit, getting their hands cut off if they didn't meet the time limit, man. Getting mutilated, man. just so this man can have a nice cotton shirt, just so this man can stir his coffee and put 2 sugars in there, man. Black people had to die in order for this man to drink coffee. And you mean to tell me we should love everybody? Nah, man. Reparations ain't good enough, man. Paying us money ain't good enough, man. But Jesus Christ paving the roads with their blood, that's what we want, man. While they're getting ready to have their coffee, Jesus Christ is going to pave the roads with their blood, man. That's right. That's the only way we can get payback. Giving me £1,000, £2,000 ain't good enough, man. This man still oppresses us today with the Windrush generation. Go ahead.
Come. And called on to transport more and more Africans to bondage in the Americas.
And what?
Called on transport and for more and more Africans to bondage in the Americas.
And now they was making so much money off that sugar. They had to keep going back to West Africa to get more Israelites, man. They had to keep going back to West Africa to get more slaves, man. Why? Because if you've got a company and this company is getting popular, what do? You have to get more workers, man. The thing is this, they didn't get workers, they got slaves, man. So all of that was free labor. Like for you to get workers nowadays, you have to pay them. This man got free labor, man. He looked at us and seen us and said, them niggas is free labor, man. Them niggas is free labor. And then they have the cheek to say that what? We lazy and so forth. When we just free labor to them. Go ahead.
Come. Whatever moral or religious sculpture Europeans may have had about the enslavement of Africans, the practical and economic evidence about slavery was hard to dispute.
The what?
Economic evidence about slavery was hard to dispute.
Listen, man, this white man tells you he loves God all day, but then enslaves God's people. He tells you about religion all day, but then enslaves God's people. And by the amount of sugar they was making, and the economic shows you that's what they really care about, man. They care about the money, the wealth, the big houses. You think our oppressors worked hard for that nice house, that nice £500,000 house? You think he's worked hard? No, you know who has worked hard for that house? You have, man. You worked hard for his house, man. You worked so hard that he can buy a £500,000 house now. You worked so hard that now he can go buy a Tesla. That's how hard you worked, man. Go ahead.
What? Sucker. African slaves made possibly the lucrative world of sugar cultivation in the tropical Americas and much more other production in British colonies to the north and learned tract written during the controversy of the Royal African Companies.
Oh, hold on. The what?
Royal African Companies.
And those, the people who sold us, the Royal African Company, man. This Royal African Company understood that the Israelites ain't Africans, man. So they sold us. They didn't sell their own people. They sold us. The Royal African Company sold the Israelites, man. Go ahead. Before the white man kind of took it over, but go ahead.
Monopoly affirmed that the Negro trade on the coast of Africa is the chief and fundamental support of the British colonies.
Is the support of the what?
British colonies.
Listen, man. We built up everything, man. Don't tell me nothing, man. This is letting you know that the sugar trade built up England and its colonies, man. We built up England and its colonies. You know how England was able to afford their weapons in the wars, World War I and World War II, of slave money, man. That's right. That's how they was able to afford their money. How's America able to afford its money? Of slaves, man. They have all that money where they can buy these weapons. So you're imagine you're getting happy right now. I'm on furlough. Really, that money belongs to you anyway, man. They're giving you your own money on furlough. They're giving you your own money back with this stimulus check, man. Why? Because this money rightfully belongs to you anyway, man. But go ahead.
Come on. And plantations in America. So too Malachi Passowa, a prominent essayist and commentator on this trade and commerce, recognized that Britain was in debt to those invaluable people. Britain is indebted to those valuable people, man. Why? Because we made Great Britain rich. All that sugar, man. All that tobacco, man. We made them rich. Go ahead. Come. For our sugar, tobacco, rice. Listen, man. They got rich off sugar, tobacco, rice, rum, and everything else that we produced on them plantations, man.
Go ahead.
and other plantation produce. Indeed, slavery brought complex economic change.
Oh, hold on, it brought what?
Complex economic change.
Because England was garbage before they got slaves, man. Before they got slaves, England was garbage, man.
That's right.
Listen, you want to know why England's one of the richest countries in the world? Because they've had slaves, man.
That's right.
That's why England's so rich. You're just thinking English people were so smart and English people built something from the ground up. They're so rich. Why? Because they had slaves, man. And those slaves are your people, man. Those slaves are your ancestors, man. And you honor them by doing what? Joining Christianity. You dishonor them, man. You shame them every day, man. You show that what they done was you show that the hatred that they had for the white man was in vain, because years down the line, their grandson wants to marry one, man, wants to be with one, and so forth. Hold on, I think. One second, go to the next one. Read on the next page. Yeah, go ahead.
Vital.
Next page. This is a good book to get, man.
It was the main spring of the machine, which sets every wheel in motion.
We set everything in motion, man. So, man, imagine now, everything that you see that works by machine. Just understand the black man was doing that with his hands, man. Understand the black sister was doing that with her hands. All that slavery, man. Nowadays, you just see machines and so forth. You see machines printing T-shirts. You see machines sorting out the cotton and whatnot. You see machines going over the sugarcane field. Understand, you had to walk with your legs and do 16-hour shifts, and you had to rush, and you couldn't talk on the job also, man. That's why in certain slaveries they tell you, oh, don't talk, work and be quiet. It comes from the same thing, man. They want you to work and be quiet right now in your job, same how they wanted you to work and be quiet in slavery, man. Nothing ain't far-fetched, man. The same things they was doing back then is what they're doing right now. Imagine you must go to a slavery and they don't expect you to talk. I don't pay you to talk. That's what they say, man. The slave master said that when you was cutting cotton, man. Slave master said, I need extra cotton picked, and you're talking all day. They still do those things in the workplace till this day, man. Right. Go ahead.
The African trade is so very beneficial to Great Britain.
It's what?
Beneficial to Great Britain.
Slavery was beneficial to Great Britain, man. Slavery was beneficial to Great Britain. Why? Because it got them the British Bank, man. It got them in a position where they can give you a loan now. It got them in a position where they're one of the superpowers on the earth. It got them in a position where they run all the companies and they give you a little crumb of the cake, and you feel like they've done something for you. You feel like, I can't speak bad about white people because they gave me a job. The job they gave you, you're meant to run the company, man. The company's meant to belong to you. Go ahead.
So essentially, necessary to the very being of her colonies, that without it, neither could we flourish.
Without their colonies, they couldn't flourish, man. Without blacks and Hispanics, they couldn't flourish. But they're flourishing right now. Why? Because of all that slave money, all that free work, all that free labor. Go ahead.
Nor they long subsist. In his survey of trade, published in 1718, William Wood wrote that the labor of the Negroes is the principal foundation of the riches from the plantations.
Listen, man, they even know that the labor of the Negroes is the principal foundation of their riches, man. You see, Elon Musk, he's only rich. Why? Because of Negroes, man. You see, Bill Gates, he's only rich. Why? Because of Negroes, man. You see that guy that runs the company that drives the nice car, he's only rich because of Negroes, man. These Give me a 1 if you can hear me online. Give me a 1 if you can hear me. Give me a 1 if you can hear me. Give me a 1 if you can hear me. It's good now. All right. Then. Oh yeah, they can hear us. All right. For what? All right then. We're gonna go back into it. All right. So now we're in a book called The History of Jamaica. So this is a book called The History of Jamaica. We're gonna go in there, page 162. So lucky I'm putting you on. I'm putting you on to these books, man. I'm putting you on today. So now, yeah, all right. Yeah, this one should be. You see, because I highlighted it in grey, you can barely see what the hell it's saying. One sec. So I can see that. Go ahead. So we're in page 162, man.
The masters then branded their slaves on spot.
It says the masters branded their slaves on the spot, man. Now, they branded us. Now we're going to read how. Go ahead.
Edward gives a bucolic description of the operation.
Listen, they prettied it up about operation. This ain't operation, man. This is burning people, man. They called it an operation. Like you've gone to the hospital and opted for it. Nah, man. This is called burning black people, man. Operation. They feel that black people don't feel no pain, but read on.
It is a custom amongst some of the planters in Jamaica to mark their initials of their name on the shoulder or breast of each newly purchased Negro.
Listen, man, they done to us what people do when they get a coat, man. When you get a new coat, what do? You put your name on the inside so everyone knows it's yours. They put their initials on you, man, as to say you're no longer your own person. You're a slave and I own you. And they burnt it into you, man. Go ahead.
Damn. By means of a small silver brand heated in a flame of spirits.
Imagine, man, they heat it in a flame, man, and then burn it on you, man. How do you expect me to love the oppressor after this, man? Imagine that, and you know them burns when they, listen, man, when a little bit of oil flicks on you, it burns, man. A little bit of oil flicks out the pan, that burns. Imagine these, like, put something in a flame, and then, listen, man, and then put their initials on your shoulder, your breast, or wherever, man. This is the thing, man. Our oppressor is a beast, man.
That's right.
Our oppressor is a horrible, disgusting beast, man.
That's right. That
kills and murders black people and brands them with flames of iron on. Go ahead.
But it is growing into disuse.
So they said after a while, this became like growing into disuse. Go ahead.
Edwards then disserts over the price of slaves, varying upon age and physical condition. In 1791.
So now age and physical condition. So now they look at you like they do today. So if they want a security guard that's big and strong, they look at you, your stature. He's big and strong. Let's hire him. Now, if they want someone that can run fast, they look at you and be like, let's hire him. He can run fast. The same way they find you suitable for jobs today is the same way they found you suitable for plantations back then. They look at your physical attributes and what you bring to the table and what you can do. Ain't nothing changed. Go ahead.
A planter paid £150 for a man.
Now, remember, bearing in mind, this was back in them times. So £150 was quite a bit of money back then. £150 back then in the 1700s wasn't what £150 is right now. Like back then, you could pay what, £2 rent?
No, I think back then a man's wage like £5 for the week or something.
A week, innit? Mm. So back then the price was you know what? Back then it was like £28 back then was like, I believe 600 and something pound. So £28 back then was between 600 and £1,000. £28 back then, because when the Windrush generation came over, the half priced it to get them to come over. So the flight fare was £28.50, and that was a 6 months wage. So 6 months wage for us is like what?
6 months wage?
No, not 6 months wage. How much was it? I can't remember. I'll work it out and let you know, but it was about a 6 months wage. But go ahead.
Come. 149 for a woman.
So they paid £150 for a man in his prime, meaning a man that's strong and physically strong. They paid £150 for him. Why? Because they're gonna get about £20,000 worth of work out of him, man. So they know they're getting their money back. They know they're gonna buy a slave and get their money right back. Go ahead.
I think a pound made a difference back then.
Yeah, big difference.
It's only £1 less. So we charge them the same. If it was like today.
Right.
It must have been a big difference.
It was a big difference, a pound difference back then. We'll work it out later on, but it was a big difference. So the woman cost £1 less than the man. Go ahead.
And 147 for a teenager.
So a teenager, your teenage son would have been £3 cheaper than a man, but obviously it's not £3 today. £3 was a lot of money back then, because back then £3 could pay your rent for like a couple of weeks or whatnot. So £3 would have been a difference back then. The currency, the value of the pound back then was way higher than it is now. Go ahead.
Children were sold for 40 to 45 pounds.
Children were what?
Sold for 40 or 45 pounds.
And your children were sold for 40 or 45 pounds. Hold that, but give me the description, Deuteronomy, where it says your children shall be given unto another people. Now we're going to get that in the law, man. In the book of Deuteronomy 28, and I believe it's around 32 or something. It might be around there. Is it 32 or something around there? So now we're going to show you that in the law, man.
Deuteronomy 28 and 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
They gave our sons and our daughters to another people, man. Go ahead.
And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them.
Imagine you're crying your eyes out, man, because you want your child, man. You miss your child. You nurtured this child from it was born, man. You're longing and you're wanting for them, man. Every time you hear the door, you're wondering, is this my child reuniting with me? Imagine this is a time when there was no Instagram. There was no missing posters. There was no, well, there would have been missing posters because people used to post that if you see this slave, return him to me and I'll give you this much. But back then, for us, you couldn't put out a missing post there. You couldn't put out a post on Facebook. Once your child was gone, man. Read on.
And your eyes shall fail with longing for them all the day long.
And imagine your whole life you cried for your child, man. Am I going to see my child again? Am I going to see my baby again? Your child cried for you. I miss my mom. What plantation is she on? You spent your time thinking, am I going to see my children again? And this slave master would come and play games with you and say, you know what? If you get all this work done, I'll get your child back. You'd work like a dog, man. And guess what? They wouldn't get your child back, man. They said that to make you work. And then you would go and ask them, where's my child? And then they would just whip you and tell you, get back to work, boy. Get back to work, boy. That's what they would do, man. They would enslave you and whip you and torture you, man. Is there any more on that?
And there shall be no might in thine hand.
And you had no might in your hand, meaning you couldn't go search for your child or whatnot. Read that again for me in the history of Jamaica about your child. £45.
And children were sold for 40 to 45 pounds.
You're crying your eyes out, man. And this man sees how broken you are, and he sells your child for 40 to 45 pounds, man. He sells them for 40 to 45 pounds because he don't care about your tears, man. He don't care about you crying. He don't care about black people. But we've cried our eyes out, man, in longing and wanting to see our children, and they've been sold for 45 pounds. Meanwhile, we cry and mourn and cry and mourn. Jump down to the next.
In Jamaica, slaves were perceived as a necessary evil.
They looked to us like we were the evil ones, man. Imagine they looked at us like we the evil ones. Meanwhile, today they look at us like we're the evil ones, man. We ain't never beat anyone's culture out of them. We ain't never enslaved nobody and murdered them for no reason and so forth. That's right. We ain't never harmed no one for no reason. And they look at us like we the evil ones. This is the thing, man. Our oppressor doesn't see himself as evil. He sees himself as a righteous man that doesn't harm nobody. Meanwhile, the whole earth is out of course because of him, because he harms everybody on the earth. He harms, kills, and destroys everybody, man. Read on.
The workforce was essential, but the whites lived in perpetual fear of being insurrections. Was not it true that those people feared not death?
And the thing is, we didn't fear death, man. Why? Because we thought, you know what? Death has to be better than living under the white man. We said that dying has to be better than being a slave. Dying has to be better than being mutilated and getting caught up in all these things. We said death has to be better than that. So they look to us like, wow, these people don't fear death, and they've kind of got nothing to live for because their whole life is misery. They've already lost their children. The slaves, they've lost everything. I mean, what have they got to live for? Read on.
Can't. And that they even saw it as deliverance.
And listen, man, imagine being so oppressed that you see death as deliverance, man. Imagine you've been beat down and destroyed so much by white people that you see death as deliverance. That's how our people seen it in slavery. Go ahead.
It came, they said, to free them from slavery and to take them back to Africa among their relatives.
Go ahead.
They look on death as a blessing.
They what?
Look on death as a blessing.
They looked at death as a blessing, man. So what did our oppressor do? Told us about heaven and hell, man. Why? Because he knows that what? We had nothing to look forward to. So he told you about heaven and hell. And heaven and hell meant what? Heaven and hell means what? Be a good slave your whole life and then die and float off and go to heaven. That's what he taught us. Heaven and hell. So then black people would be a good slave. Meanwhile, this slave master's telling you about heaven and hell. And he's convinced that he's going to heaven also, man. He's convinced that you and him are both dying and going to the same place and so forth. Which lets you know how evil this man is, man. Sold you a dream of heaven and hell to keep you as a good slave. And then what do Christians believe in today? Heaven and hell. Christians still believe in heaven and hell till this day. Go ahead. Oh, you got it. You read it if you want.
Confirms Leslie. Some relations even state that it is quite frequent for them to cut their own throats.
Listen, man. We was enslaved so much that some black people decided to cut their own throats, man. They decided to cut their own throats. Why? Because they was tired of living in hell. You can hit that one if you want. Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
It says $150 in 1780 is equivalent in purchasing power to about $2,864.
It's about how much money?
$2,864.
That's how much it was back then, man.
Under 3 bags.
So it was under $3,000. So that's for 150.
That's dollars though.
Yeah, all right. And see how much it was for 149 in the price difference between what a woman would have been. So 150 is just 2,864. So you see how much 149 was. This on the screenshot or no? I know so. Oh shit, I got to put the screen share back on here. All right then. So we're gonna go back onto the screen share. Give me 1 second. What is it on them? 149. So we're gonna work out the price difference. A man was 2,800 and something. And then now we're gonna find out how much a woman was. No, that's cool. That one's cool. Too hard. So also this on the screen share, this is the book that we're reading now, The History of Jamaica from 1494 to 1838. So this covers from when we came from West Africa to the Caribbean and so forth. So that's where we at with it now. Nah, that one can't be right. I forget we scroll back to here. £1 possibly. Yeah, so 183 times 80, 62, 40. You know about the maths. All right, 240 plus 300, 540. So basically, a man cost what, £540 more than how much a woman would have cost. So a man was £540 more than how much a woman would have cost. in slavery. So, all right, then this is the book that we're reading right now, History of Jamaica. This book right here, man. It's a good. It's a good read. Might make you, might you know, get you mad here and there. But, all right, then now we're gonna go to page 157. So now we're gonna read page 157 in the History of Jamaica.
The Jamaican grain became more expensive than the ones from Barbados.
So now the Jamaican grain. Zoom in some more. Yeah, that should be right. Zoom in some more. Yeah. So.
The Jamaican grain became more expensive than the one from Barbados. By 1670, there were more than 600 windmills in the island, and 10 times more in 1730.
So now, over time, they've got more and more, man. They needed more plantations, more windmills, more everything. Why? Because they're making money, man. And off of everything that you done, show me what you got, man. You didn't get a penny. Go ahead.
Jamaica now counted 430 plantations owned by rich planters.
Owned by what?
Rich planters.
Listen, man. Every white man you see, man, he comes from a family of planters, man. Don't let him tell you, oh, that was my grandparents. We ain't like that. They come from a rich, wealthy line of planters, and they only wealthy not because of hard work. They're wealthy because of your hard work.
That's ahead. Right. So powerful that the sugar colonies. These planters became so powerful that the sugar colonies, as these islands came to be called, were the most valuable possessions of any empire.
Most valuable possessions of any empire, man. That's how rich they became, man. Go ahead.
Fiercely fought over in every war that broke out in Europe.
Man, you see, every war that broke out in Europe, most wars, they was fighting over you, man. Why? Because you're making all the money. The Spanish and the British fought over you, man. And the British expelled the Spanish from the island of Jamaica, man. What happened is, in your mind, in black people's mind, is you're looking for a hero to come and save you, man. Like in a movie, when someone's attacking someone and someone else comes, you're like, yes, the heroes come, Spider-Man's come. In our movie, Spider-Man didn't come, man. In our movie, we went from one oppressor to a next oppressor, man.
That's right.
Everybody's fighting to enslave you, man. Imagine you're being oppressed by the Spanish, and then you see the British like, oh yes, the British have come. Maybe we're gonna get saved. They ain't come to save you, man. They've come to make money off you and enslave you as well. And this is why we can't ever join no other nation, man, because no other nation is out there to help us. Every nation is only out there to oppress us and enslave us. Go ahead.
Calm. Every war that broke out in Europe and fiercely bargained for at every peace conference, says Black.
Listen, they fought over black people, man. Why? Because obviously it's like, what? You fight over where you can make the most money. And they understood with black people, we can make money off them. What happened is the Dutch, the Spanish, they all wanted to fight, man, each other. Why? Because they're seeing this one's making a killing of free labor. They want that free labor, man. They see black people as free labor, man. They don't see us as nothing more than that. Just free labor and a slave, man, that must pick cotton, sugarcane, tobacco, and so forth. That's all they see when they see you is a cotton picker, man. You trying to join them. Listen, man, they all fight over you. Why? Because they see the benefit you can bring. They see you can change this whole world around, man. That's what they see. Go ahead.
Their importance in the eyes of governments was out of all proportion to their size. Indeed, the British West Indians had more potential influence with the government in England than did all 13 American mainland colonies.
The British had it patterned, man. Go ahead.
Their indignation at the favor shown to these islands was one of the grievances that led them to revolt against British rule and become independent republic.
They revolted against British rule, man. Because why? Everybody wants to make money, man. Everybody wants to eat off slaves, man. Go ahead.
Thus, Jamaica at first a mere consolation prize for the Western design became the richest possession of the British in the New World.
And they became rich off of us, man. Go ahead.
A status she owned to her slaves. This is what Voltaire reminds his contemporaries of the London 1759. Two characters came across a mutilated slave in the Surinames.
Listen, man, we was mutilated, man. They came across a mutilated slave, man. What does it mean to be mutilated? It means chopped up and so forth. Go ahead.
When we work at the sugar canes and the mill snatches hold of a finger, they cut off our hand.
If the mill snatches hold of your finger, they cut off your hand, man. They would cut your hand off, man. Listen, man, our people had it hard. How can I ever love them, man, when they're cutting my people's hands off and still expecting them to work? Go ahead.
And when we attempt to run away, they cut off our legs.
And if you run away, they cut off your legs, man, to scare you into not running away, to scare you into being a good slave that believes one day you're going to die and float off into heaven. Go ahead.
Both cases happened to me.
Damn, both what?
Both cases happened to me.
Both cases meaning got his hand chopped off and his leg chopped off, man. We can't love white people, man. We can't love them after this, man. We must stop loving them today immediately, man. Go ahead.
It is at this expense of ours that you eat sugar in Europe. A speech relayed to Montesquieu in the spirit of laws. Sugar would be too expensive if the plant producing it was not cultivated by slaves.
Listen, man, the slaves had to do all of that, man. It would be too expensive if it wasn't cultivated by slaves. Is there any more on that?
No.
Nah, that's it on that part. One sec, let's go to. Hold on. Huh? How come this has only got 2 in there? Give me 1 second. Let me go. 1 second. Let me stop sharing this real quick. We're still on the screenshot. Come on. Oh yeah, 1 second. Let me. Oh, that's why these didn't download. All right, let me go back on it. All right, what verse you at? We still. All right, let me go back on the screen share. Hold on, give me. Hold on, what page was that you just read? Oh, that was 157. All right, then. Go back in the Zong, page 40. Hold on, let me just screen share this again. No, 1 second. Let's go back on the screen share. Really? This one that we just read. Yeah. All right, then. So now we're gonna read. We're back in the book, the Zong. Yeah, go ahead.
Core belief, which was to be the central but particularly lethal issue on the Zong in 1781. No one doubted the indispensability of the African, and most sides were united in the view that without African labor, the American plantation could not function.
They know that the plantations couldn't function without our labor, man, which means they wouldn't be as rich as they are today. Go ahead.
Come. Without the plantations and all that flowed into and out of them, British economic well-being at home and abroad could falter.
Listen, man, without us, it would falter, man. But because of us, they got rich, and now they've set up the British Bank. Is there any more on that? Is there more on the next page? Oh, so you got the. No, I think there's probably some more on the next page. You know. No, I think it's on the. Oh shit! No, I think it's on the actual next page, but I don't think I got a picture of that one. You know. I'm sure there is. Hold on. page 40. Yeah, page 40.
The Africans remain shackled at all times. Upwards of 50 men, held on a chain, strung along the deck. Sometimes they were prompted to dance and sing.
There was what?
Prompted to dance and
When
sing.
we was on the slave ships, man, they made us dance and sing, man. We're gonna get Psalms 137, man. Hold that and read that and get them to get Psalms.
Sometimes they were prompted to dance and sing in hope that the exercise would be good for them.
And they made us sing and dance for their entertainment and for exercise. Why? Because they didn't want the slaves to seize up. So they wanted to keep them, keep them shackled and make them sing and dance. Go ahead.
One surgeon told how on board his ships they sometimes sung, but not for their amusement. The captain ordered them to sing.
The captain what?
Ordered them to sing.
The captain ordered them to sing, man. The captain ordered our brothers and sisters to sing, man. Which shows that we, the people of the Bible, man. Now we're going to show you this same thing in the book of Psalms 137, man. How these devils told us to sing, man. We're going to show you the same thing that happened in history, the same thing which happened in the Bible, man, which confirms the Bible's true. Yeah, go ahead.
Psalms 147.
37.
37.
Oh, yeah. Is it? So say that again. The required of us the song and the dance. So we're going to read this, man. Same thing that we read in the history book. We're about to read it in the Bible, man.
Psalms 137, verse 3. For they that carried us away captive.
For they that what?
Carried us away captive.
For they that what?
Carried us away
For
captive.
they that carried us away captive. What did these people who carried us away captive want?
Required of us a song.
Hold on, they wanted what?
Required of us a song.
They wanted a what?
A song.
Hold that and go back to the song. What did they want us, what did they make us do in the song? Now we read that from the Bible. Now we're going to read this in the book, the song. What did they make us do in the song?
One surgeon told how on board the ship they sometimes sung.
They sometimes what?
Sung.
Song. But why? Go ahead.
But not for their amusement.
We didn't sing for our amusement. Go ahead.
The captain ordered them to sing.
The captain what?
Ordered them to sing.
The captain ordered us to sing, man. Read that again in the Bible. Listen,
For them
man,
that carried us away captive.
we're showing you, man, how history and the Bible link up, man. And this is the history class. Go ahead.
Required of us a song.
For they that carried us away captive required of us a song. Go ahead.
Come. Saying, sing us one of those songs of Zion.
They said, sing us one of the songs of Zion. Read on.
Verse 4, how shall we sing the Lord's song?
And they said, how shall we sing the Lord's song? Why? Because they're depressed and they're not in the land of the Lord. Read on.
In a strange land.
They said, how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? Anyone that? Go ahead. Go back to the song now. Now we're going to show you the same thing in the song when we read on.
They sang songs of sorrow.
They did what?
Sang songs of sorrow.
We didn't sing songs of Zion. We sang songs of sorrow, man. Why? Because we was sorrowful, man. We was in a horrible state, so we sang songs of sorrow. Go ahead.
The subject of their songs were their wretched situation.
And we sang about our horrible situation. Go ahead.
And the idea of never returning home.
Hold on. And the what?
Idea of never returning home.
We sang about never returning home, man. And in the book of Psalms, it goes, how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land, man? They refused to sing the Lord's song in the song. They were singing about sorrow, man. Why? Because they was never going to see their homeland again. Is there anyone that was... That's it. All right, take me to... take me to the song page 2. Yeah, go ahead. Is it page 2 or page 3? Let me zoom in. Robert Stubbs.
Robert Stubbs had been master of the Black Jake.
Listen, man. There was a slave ship called the Black Joke, man.
Okay.
They called a slave ship the Black Joke. And why did they call it the Black Joke? Because black people was on there, man. Like, they look at our life as a joke so much that they call a slave ship the Black Joke. Go ahead.
One of the most ironically named of all slave vessels.
One of the most ironically named of all slave vessels. Go ahead.
And-
For time's sake, we're gonna probably speak through this because we've got 15 minutes left. So we're gonna go through it as well, but just not as in depth. But go ahead.
And no accident. Seized from the French.
Now, this ship was seized from the French. The British stole the slave ship from the French. Go ahead.
100-ton ship had sailed from London to the Gambia in 1757
Go ahead.
under Stubbs' command, and taken on board 230 Africans.
So they took 230 Israelites, lucky Israelites. Obviously, it says Africans because that's what the white man's going to put there, but it's Israelites. Go ahead.
But the black joke was again seized.
And now the black joke was again seized. So people's robbing the ship, man. Tons of people keep robbing the ship. Why? Because the slaves on there, they can make money, man. So the British rob it, the French rob it, the British rob it back. Meanwhile, they're playing with people's lives on them ships, man. Go ahead.
Repossessed by the French.
And the French repossessed this ship called the Black Joke. Go ahead.
The surviving Africans were delivered not to the British
So
colony.
now, when we was on that ship from Gambia, we was meant to be delivered to a British colony, but then the French repossessed the ship and delivered us to a French colony. Meanwhile, while we out there looking for a savior, there's no white savior for us, man. The French delivered you to a French colony, meaning you was meant to go to a British slave master and you ended up going to a French one. You just go with whoever's in power. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like, it's like you have a lorry full of TVs that's supposed to go to Curry's, and then someone robs it and just takes the goods and puts it in the streets. Like them TVs don't get salvation, just get sold from one man to the next man. Then so they're meant to go to Curry's, they get robbed by someone robs a lorry, and then instead of being sold to Curry's, they get sold, in back alleys and shit. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, they ain't gonna get salvation. They get sold from one man to the next.
Exactly. Meanwhile, you're thinking it's a rescue team, man, taking over the ship. Come to find out, you're no longer going to a British colony. You're on your way to Martinique, man. That's where you're going because you've been captured by the French. Go ahead.
But to the French island of Martinique.
Listen, man, you was carried to Martinique. Read on. So lucky, I think it changes color because I ran my highlighter ran out. So lucky.
Africa, formerly the Royal African Company, and in 1780 he appointed governor of.
Hold on, do I even need that part?
I'm not sure. I think you highlighters gonna.
Nah, I don't even need that part. One sec.
Oh.
Go back the page. Oh shit! Yeah, this one is in the. One second. Let me see what page this is. This is in. Hold on, one second. Let me see what page this is in. Yeah, this is in the History of Jamaica, page 168. So we're gonna go back into the History of Jamaica. This is page 168. Listen, I need some new highlighters. One sec. Yeah. What these articles silently tell us.
What these articles silently tell us is that slaves were daily put to death.
Slaves were what?
Daily put to death.
Slaves were daily put to death, man. True say you don't know, but slaves were daily put to death. Go ahead.
For little or no reason.
Slaves were put to death for little or no reason, man. Like a white man would just see you and think, you know what, I'm bored, and they'll kill a black man. Same like what the police do to us today. Go ahead.
And
so lucky, get the likes up, get them likes up. Click the like button, get the likes up. Go ahead.
And that these laws were not actually applied.
Listen, man, there was no law against them putting a slave to death, man. They was allowed to kill black people, man. Like today, Esau gets away with killing black people. Go ahead.
Long specifies that the last article was inspired by one Lockwood, a lunatic owner who inhumanely butchered his slaves.
He did what?
Inhumanely butchered his slaves.
Listen, man, there was a man that inhumanely butchered his slaves, man. He would butcher Israelites, man. He would butcher his slaves. Imagine you having them as a slave is one thing, but then you start to butcher them. That's what they did to us, man. Go ahead.
Come. The historian adds that it was used at least a second time against another violent master who was burnt in the hand.
Go ahead.
There were indeed some sadistic masters in Jamaica,
There's some horrible beasts and murderers in Jamaica who was our masters, man. Go ahead.
including Annie Palmer.
There was a woman called Annie Palmer, man. And why is Vibes Cartel's name Adidja Palmer white? Because he's got a slave name like the rest of us, man.
That's right.
Annie Palmer was a white woman who was a horrible slave master. Go ahead.
In St. James, who enjoyed torturing her
And
slaves.
she enjoyed torturing her slaves, man. Torturing God's chosen people. Go ahead.
In the diary of Lewis, also notes a slave song, "Take him to the gully."
And this is where the gully comes from. So when Mavado's talking about the gully side, we're going to show you where it originally comes from. This is the origin of it. Go ahead. You can skip the singing bit, but just
Take him to the gully, take him to the gully, but bring it back the frock and board.
So there was a slave master that when his slaves got old, he would take them to a gully, but that's where it comes from. So when Mavado says it's on the gully side, it just means it's come from what a lower state. It's on a lower state where it's filthy and whatnot. That's what gully originally meant, but go ahead.
With the song.
No, you can skip that.
Okay, cool. It's a direct reference to one of Bedwood, owner to the Spring Garden Plantation in 1785. It was constant practice.
Now, this was this man's constant practice. Go ahead.
Whenever a sick Negro was pronounced incurable,
Meaning, when a black man's sick and is pronounced incurable, meaning there's nothing to do to save him, he's going to die, he's old, or he can't do nothing, he's incurable. Go ahead.
to order the poor wretch to be carried to a solitary veil upon his estate,
So it carried him to a solitary veil upon his estate, which was like a big hole. Go ahead.
called the gully,
This is where the gully side comes from, man. Go ahead.
where he was thrown down.
That's why a gully, when you Google it, it's like a drain or something. Now they would take this old man out to the gully because he was incurable. Go ahead. Where he was thrown down. Go ahead.
And abandoned to his fate,
So they'll just throw him down a ditch and leave him in the ditch to die. Go ahead.
which fate was generally to be half devoured by junkros.
So this man's half dead, and they threw him down a gully for the junkros. You know when your grandma calls you a junkro, them birds, them vultures. They threw him down a ditch, man, and let the junkros devour him, man, while he was alive, dying. They just left him down there, no food, no water, nothing, because he was incurable. So he was a waste of space, a waste of time. Understand that could be your granddad, man. They just throw him down a ditch, man, for the junkros to eat him. Go ahead.
Before death had put an end to his suffering.
For what?
Death had put an end to his suffering.
Before death had put an end to his suffering, man. Before death had put an end to his suffering. That's how they used to treat us, man. They used to throw us down gullies to die, man. Once you get old, so imagine you spent your whole life as a slave. Imagine you spent your whole life as a slave, and then now you've been thrown down. Hold on, who's it? Yeah, it does. So yeah, that's where the gully comes from, man. They'll throw you down a gully for junkros to eat you while you was half dead. Why? Because this man realized this is a slave. He's incurable. He's old. There's no point in me feeding him. There's no point in him taking up space. Let me get rid of him. So your life meant nothing, man. You was only good to be a slave, man. You was only good to be a slave. And then when it's your time to die, they'll take you to the gully where the vultures would eat you, man. Imagine that's someone that could be your granddad, your great granddad. How can we love our oppressor, man? When we throw that, when we thrown down the gully, man, while we mutilated by our slave masters, while we abused by our slave masters, and you can't say we're making this up, man, because this right here is written in history books, man.
I knew something wrong with the gully, man. That's why man always saying Gaza, man. So lucky.
Go to, give me in the Zong page. I believe it is 77. No, it's lucky. I don't think it's the Zong. I think it's a. It's in the history of Jamaica. I can't remember what page it is. I think it's probably page 77. Yeah. Actually, you can read it from here, actually. I'm gonna have to what? I don't know. So.
The English soon got involved in the trade.
So now the English got involved in the slave trade late because they seen how everyone's thriving from it and said, "Well, we better get involved in this. Your whole life here is money. These nations devour you and eat off you. Go ahead.
The terrible John Hawkins set the trend in 1562, getting rich by selling 300 Africans in Hispaniola.
So this was the start of it. Go ahead.
But the French and the Portuguese were already quite active by 1564, while the English were slow to imitate them.
So the English sat back and watched, and then they realized, yo, we could make money off these people. I think we need to get involved in the slave trade on a large scale. Go ahead.
James I granted an exclusive chart to a few Londoner merchants in 1618, but the Royal African Company did not see the light before 1672.
Go ahead.
It enjoyed exclusively until 1688. The following year, the English and the Spaniards agreed upon commercial terms, which turned the former into the most active slave trader.
Hold on, turn them into the what?
Most active slave traders.
The British was the most active slave traders in the world, man. The British was the most active slave traders in the world. Why do you think they had so much colonies and all this money? Why do you think the British have got so much money, man? Why? Because of because of them being great slave traders. Go ahead.
Of course, many of these slaves were sent to Jamaica. In 1658, 3 years.
And this is where our grandparents come from, Jamaica. So this is how they got to the island of Jamaica. They were sent there by what? Slave ships, man. Like it says in the Bible. They were sent to Jamaica on slave ships under terrible conditions, man. Tons of slave ships which came from the UK, man. Registered in slave ships registered in Liverpool and Bristol and so forth. Go ahead.
In 1658, 3 years after the island was taken over by the Spaniards, there were 400 slaves.
So now there were 400 slaves at this time. Go ahead.
And 4,000 colonists in Jamaica.
So there's 400 slaves and 4,000 colonizers at the time. Go ahead.
By 1775, there were 200,000 slaves.
By 1775, there were 200,000 slaves, man. Why? Lets you know how much money they was making, how much slaves they needed to run these plantations, man. There was 200,000 slaves. Go ahead.
And 8,000 colonists.
And only 8,000 colonizers. Go ahead.
And this demographic reversal was due to the development of agriculture, which had transformed sugarcane into gold. We
transformed sugarcane into gold, man. That's what happened, man. Our slavery, we transformed sugarcane into gold, man. Meaning, on the plantations, we turned cotton to gold, well, tobacco to gold. Like, they was making so much money. It was like they was selling gold, man. That's how much money they was making off slaves, man. Of slave labor. By them taking us from the west coast of Africa to Jamaica, man. They made all that money. And today, you see the British thriving, man. And this is why the Lord sent Corona to slow them down a bit, man.
That's right.
I don't feel sorry for not one of them, man. Based off how they treated my ancestors, man. And with that brings us to the end of the class, man. We'll be here tomorrow.